Every single year, America stops, and most people never ask why. Millions of flags get lowered, ceremonies begin, and a nation holds its breath together. This is not just a long weekend for barbecues and sales at the mall. This day carries the weight of over 1 million American lives lost in war. And honestly, the story of how this day was born will shake you to your core. It did not start with Congress, it did not start with a president, and it did not start in Washington. It started in the ruins of a nation that had just finished killing itself. The year was 1865, and the American Civil War had just ended with 620,000 soldiers dead. Entire towns had lost every young man they ever raised, every son they ever loved. The grief across America in 1865 was not just personal, it was total, and it was national. And here is where it gets really interesting, because the first Memorial Day was not called Memorial Day at all. On May 1st, 1865, in Charleston, South Carolina, something extraordinary happened that no one talks about. Around 10,000 freed Black Americans organized a ceremony to honor Union soldiers buried nearby. Those soldiers had died in a Confederate prison camp right there in Charleston during the war. The formerly enslaved people gave those soldiers a proper burial, built a fence around the graves, and held a parade. Historians like David Blight have called this the first true Decoration Day in American history. If you want to uncover the hidden truths behind American history that schools never taught you, subscribe to History Lab right now. We dig into the real stories, the forgotten voices, and the facts that will genuinely change how you see this country. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because what is coming next in this video is just getting started. Now, after the Civil War ended, communities across both the North and the South began honoring their dead separately. Southern towns started holding what they called Confederate Memorial Days, decorating graves of rebel soldiers. Northern towns did the same for Union soldiers, laying flowers and flags on their graves each spring. General John Logan, the commander of a Union veterans organization called the Grand Army of the Republic, decided to make it official. On May 5, 1868, General Logan issued General Order No. 11 to formalize a National Day of Remembrance. He chose May 30th as the date because flowers would be in bloom across the entire country by then. On that first official Decoration Day, around 5,000 people gathered at Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia. General and future President Ulysses S. Grant presided over that very first ceremony at Arlington. Children placed flowers on both Union and Confederate graves, a powerful act of reconciliation in a broken nation. That single gesture, flowers on graves, became the heartbeat of what this day would mean forever. Wait, because this next part is something even most history teachers get completely wrong. For decades after 1868, this day was called Decoration Day, not Memorial Day. Different states celebrated it on different dates, and the southern states largely refused to participate in the northern version. It was not a unified national holiday for a very long time. It was actually two separate, divided traditions. New York became the first state to officially recognize Decoration Day as a legal holiday back in 1873. By 1890, every single northern state had made it an official state holiday, but the South still held out. The two versions of the holiday, Union and Confederate, ran parallel for generations without merging. World War I changed everything, because now American soldiers were dying on foreign soil in Europe for the first time. After that war, the holiday slowly expanded to honor Americans killed in all wars, not just the Civil War. The name gradually shifted from Decoration Day to Memorial Day across the country during the early 20th century. And here is where it gets really significant, because Congress finally stepped in after World War II. By the time World War II ended in 1945, America had lost over 400,000 more soldiers in battle. The scale of sacrifice demanded a unified, permanent, federally recognized day of national mourning and respect. In 1967, the federal government officially changed the name from Decoration Day to Memorial Day by federal law. Then, in 1968, Congress passed the Uniform Monday Holiday Act, which moved Memorial Day to the last Monday of May. That decision was controversial. Many veterans groups argued it stripped the day of its sacred, fixed meaning. They said moving it to create a 3-day weekend turned a solemn occasion into a vacation opportunity. Veterans organizations like the VFW and the American Legion pushed back hard against that change for decades. Congress actually introduced legislation multiple times to move Memorial Day back to May 30th, but it never passed. That tension between commerce and commemoration has never fully gone away. It still exists in America today. No one talks about this, but there is an official moment built into Memorial Day that most Americans completely ignore. Congress passed the National Moment of Remembrance Act in the year 2000 under President Bill Clinton. That law asks every single American to pause for 1 full minute of silence at exactly 3 p.m. local time. Surveys show that the overwhelming majority of Americans have no idea that moment even exists or is federally designated. The irony is painful. A day meant for remembrance is mostly forgotten in terms of its actual solemn traditions. Meanwhile, Memorial Day weekend generates billions of dollars in retail sales, travel, and entertainment spending every year. Department stores run massive sales, car dealerships push huge promotions, and Americans flood beaches and theme parks. General Logan, who created this day in 1868, would likely not recognize what it has become in the modern era. But the military families who live this day differently, they are the ones who keep the true meaning alive. Gold Star families, those who lost a son, daughter, spouse, or parent in military service, feel this day uniquely. For them, Memorial Day is not a long weekend. It is the hardest day on the entire calendar year. At Arlington National Cemetery, soldiers from the 3rd United States Infantry Regiment place flags at every single grave. There are over 400,000 graves at Arlington, and soldiers place a flag at each one before Memorial Day weekend. That tradition is called Flags In, and it has been carried out every year since 1948 without interruption. Each flag is placed exactly 1 foot in front of the headstone and centered perfectly. The precision is deliberate and powerful. Those flags are then guarded around the clock throughout the entire Memorial Day weekend by soldiers on active duty. That level of commitment, boots on ground, guarding the graves of the fallen, says everything about what this day means. And here is where the emotion of this story really lands, because the numbers behind this sacrifice are staggering. Over 1.3 million American military personnel have died in wars throughout the entire history of the United States. From the Revolutionary War to the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, every one of those lives had a name and a family. Memorial Day exists because a nation decided that forgetting those names was simply not acceptable or tolerable. The freed people of Charleston understood it in 1865, before anyone in Washington ever made it official. General Logan understood it in 1868, when he ordered flowers placed on the graves of the fallen soldiers. And Gold Star families understand it today. Every single May rolls around on the calendar each year. This is not just a story about one holiday. It is the story of how a nation processes its deepest wounds. Every civilization that has ever sent its young people to die has had to answer the same impossible question. How do you honor the dead without forgetting why they died and what they believed they were fighting for? America answered that question imperfectly, inconsistently, and sometimes even commercially. But it answered it. And that answer, flowers on graves, flags at headstones, 1 minute of silence at 3 p.m., still matters deeply. If this story moved you or taught you something real today, the History Lab community wants you here permanently. Subscribe to History Lab right now and join the people who refuse to let the real history stay buried.
Drop a comment below and tell us, did you know about the freed people of Charleston and that first ceremony? Share this video with someone who thinks they already know everything about Memorial Day, because they need to see this. History is never just what they taught you in school, and History Lab exists to prove that every single week.